Thanks. That's pretty incredible. All those cultures coming together there in one high school. I'm thinking that we should have Sabrina go through and make up our cafe menu for the next week.
It's October.
See, there you go. The only problem is we can't actually publish the menu because if you saw what the food was, you wouldn't eat it. I'm not eating no squid. All right, well, we have our last speaker. So finishing our program is Claire Alvey. So Claire is a singer and actually auditioned for American Idol. Did not win. There's some Carrie under something in one that year. I don't know. I would have voted for Claire. So Claire has a beautiful 8-year-old son, Dominic, and right over there. Yep, come on, Sean. Wave, there you go. And is going to be sharing her story called Finding Herself. Welcome, Claire.
Not flesh of my flesh, nor bone of my bone, but still miraculously my own. Never forget for a single minute, you grew not under my heart, but in it. This poem was really, really special to me growing up. My mom gave it to me. In fact, we even had it in a little frame, in a plaque that I would keep on my bedroom wall. And it was a great reminder to me that even though I didn't grow inside my mom, she loved me just like I was from her own blood. She loved me like I was her own daughter. Because, oh, I'm sorry, the clicker was not handed to me. I apologize. One moment. Because when I was just a few days old, I was adopted by these people here. That's Tom and Ann, my parents. And this is the first time that they held me and took me home. I was just a few days after I was born. And my family always spoke openly about being adopted. It wasn't something that we kept hidden. It was something that we talked about all the time. I don't remember a specific time when we were sat down and talked about the fact that we were adopted. It was just kind of something I always knew. But I remember a story my mom told me at Christmas time when I was very young. We were standing in the kitchen and we were making Christmas cookies. It's a tradition that we've done for a long time. And she looked at me and she said, "Claire, you're adopted. Do you know what that means?" And I looked at her with a big smile and I said, "Well, yeah, it means we get to make Christmas cookies together." So that's just a testimony to how open and honest we were about it. It just wasn't an issue for me. It wasn't a thing. It's just part of who I was. Another trend that I noticed growing up is that when people found out that I was adopted, they all had a very similar reaction. It would go something like this: "Claire, you look an awful lot like your dad." And I would say, "That's weird, because I'm adopted." And they would say something like this: "Ooh, I'm sorry." I never really understood that reaction, because it wasn't tragic, it wasn't sad, it was a blessing. And so that was something that I just didn't really get, because in my mind, being adopted was a huge blessing. I was chosen to be their daughter. And that was really cool to me. Another question that I heard a lot, all the time, was, "Are you curious about who your parents are? Don't you want to know who they are? Don't you want to know where you come from?" And to be honest, growing up, I just didn't really care about it that much. I mean, I thought about it, I guess, but it wasn't a huge issue for me. So no, you know, it wasn't something that I thought about until the day that I turned 18. When I turned 18, I remember that very day thinking, does she know that I'm an adult today? Does she know that I'm turning 18 today? Does she even remember that it's my birthday? It was a huge question. All of a sudden, all these feelings started flooding in, and all of a sudden, I felt super, super curious about it. And so I'm really blessed because my dad here actually is an adoption attorney. So I figured if I had any questions about it, he would be the guy to go to. So I remember asking him just kind of in passing, "Hey, I'm asking for a friend." if I were curious about finding my birth mother, is that something that I can do? But the thing is that in the 80s, it was very common for adoptions to be closed, and by closed, it meant closed, and by closed, it meant closed. So there wasn't any way really that I could find her. She would have to give permission for me to find her, and to get her permission, I'd have to find her. So it just didn't seem like it was something that was going to work in my favor. So I just kind of let it go. It was just like, whatever. I'm gonna let it go. And then in 2003, I stumbled across a website. I was just kind of Googling stuff, stumbled across a website that was an adoption forum. It was a place where you could take all the wealth of information that you had about yourself and your adoption and plug it into this website, and somebody would find you, and you'd be able to reconnect with your family. The problem with that was that I knew just about three things. I knew that my name was Claire, which wasn't even the name that my birth parents had given me. I knew the hospital that I was born in, and I knew the day that I was born, and that was about it. So I took that wealth of information and I plugged it in there anyway. I figured it was a long shot, but what could it hurt? Because you plug this information in and then you hope and pray that she stumbles across that website, and then she sees your information and something in her mind tells you, this might be my daughter. It was just a shot in the dark. But I figured, what could it hurt? So I plugged it in there. And then 10 years later, I'm living with my parents at the time. I was in my bed and I woke up in the middle of the night, probably about 2 a.m. I just couldn't sleep. And I do what everybody in this room does, and you do it. You pick up your phone and you scroll through Facebook. And I scrolled through Facebook and I saw that I had a message in my Facebook from somebody I didn't know. And she said, "Hi, my name is Carol. I'm an adoption angel. I volunteer my time taking information from websites and I pair people together, and I think that I found your birth mother." There's no words that prepare you for that moment. And what's funny about the fact that I have faith in God and the fact that God's timing is perfect. It's just perfect. Because God knows, and I'm sure a lot of you know, that when I learn something exciting, I have to tell somebody about it right then. I want to tell you, I want to blab about it, and I want your opinion, and I want you to tell me what I should do because I don't want to make the decision. And it affects everything that I do from there. And God knew that I was that kind of person, and so all of this transpired at 2 a.m. I didn't have anybody to talk to. Nobody. I couldn't even call my sister, nothing. So it was just me and God and trying to decide, what do I do from here? And needless to say, I didn't get a lot of sleep that night. Once I talked to God and kind of thought, what are my next steps, I decided that I was going to become a detective. She gave me the information. She told me that my mother's name was Mary Schultz. And she gave me a list of people that I may or may not be related to. So I started with Mary. I looked at her Facebook page, trolled her Facebook page. And there really wasn't anything there. There was a picture of her, but I just didn't feel like she really looked like that much like me. And I thought, well, maybe this is, maybe this isn't real. Maybe she's wrong. And so I just kind of moved down the list, and I came across the name Lindsay Schultz. And I found her Facebook page, and this is what I saw. That's Lindsay there with the older gentleman, and that's me there with my adorable little Cabbage Patch Kid. And I thought, well, man, we kind of look alike. We both have red hair, and we both have freckles. That could be something, right? And then I kept scrolling through her pictures, and I came across this picture. And I thought, man, we even have great taste in eyewear. like, you don't get much better than that. And so that was the moment where I realized, this is it, right? This has to be real. And so I woke up the next morning, and I remember sitting down at the kitchen table and telling my dad about it, and finally telling my mom about it, and getting their blessing to move forward. That was the most important thing to me. And so once I had their blessing, I decided that I would reach out and I would contact Mary. So I sent Mary a message, which I have here. That's Mary when she was younger. And you can read through it, but basically it says, "Hi, my name is Claire. I was born November 19th, 1980. I'm wondering if you gave up a child for adoption. I think I might be her. This is where I was born. This is what I know. If you're her, reach out to me. If not, I'm sorry for wasting your time." It took a couple weeks for her to get back to me, but she did. And she confirmed that she was, in fact, my birth mother. We talked about it a little bit, and we decided to meet. We decided that we would meet at Carrie's house. Carrie is my half-sister, who is Mary's other daughter. And I expected it to be this big thing. Like, I would show up at this apartment, and the door would open, and I would hear angels singing. And it would be like this moment, and there was my birth mother, and there'd be this connection that I'd never lost, and absolutely none of that happened. She opened the door, and I thought, oh, this is cool. But I didn't really feel much else. My mom was my mom, right? So we walked in, and we sat, and we talked, and I shared a book that I made with her of pictures of me when I was growing up. I thought that would be a special gift. And speaking of growing up, I'm sure many of you have been through things in your childhood where you have things about yourself physically maybe that you don't love. I had a really weird thing about myself physically that I hated growing up, and that was my ears. I have really strange ears. They're not, there's no earlobe, they're just kind of attached. It just goes straight ear to neck. It's just bizarre. And I've always hated them. And I remember we sat down on the couch, and Mary, she sat next to me, and she took her hands and she pulled her hair back. And I look over, and I just lost it. I just started bawling, and she looked at me like I was crazy. She said, "What is the matter?" And I go, "You have my ears." And it was just the most powerful moment for me. It wasn't like this moment where I was like, oh, my mom. It was just, there was somebody who was connected to me. There was something that I recognized. And that was really powerful for me. So this is Mary now. That's my half-brother, Matt. I have 2 half-brothers and 2 half-sisters. We still keep in touch. We talk on Facebook more than anything. I see her from time to time. They live in Speedway, Indiana. I send her a message on Mother's Day and tell her Happy Mother's Day. And I thank her constantly for what she did for me, because she gave me an opportunity at a new life. And here's the crazy part. So I reached out to Mary last Tuesday to get some material from her to use for this. I asked her for that message that I put up there. And she says to me, "Yeah, I got that message that you sent to me. Oh, and by the way, I found your birth father." Just kind of throws it in there. So this is my birth father, and you can tell he looks an awful lot like me. We had lunch last Sunday for the first time ever, and we cried and we laughed and we talked about a lot of things. So my story has yet to be finished. I have a lot of people to meet. I've got more siblings to meet. I've got more stories to learn and things to experience. But here's the thing. I sat down and I tried to think, what's the moral of my story? Everybody seemed to have kind of this cool, moral of their story. And here's what I did. I sat down and I was thinking over my favorite movie of all time is The Wizard of Oz. Of all time. And in The Wizard of Oz, you remember, Dorothy is looking for something bigger, something better, greener grass, right? She wants to go somewhere else. Her journey isn't bad. She makes new friends, new relationships, she goes on an adventure. But in the long run, she realizes that there's no place like home, right? In the search for my birth parents, I wasn't really trying to find something better or bigger. I was really just trying to find who I was. I was trying to find me. And what I realized is that at home I had 2 amazing parents. 2 amazing parents that love me, and they are everything to do with who I am. Everything. I started this journey searching for me. But the truth is I was never lost. Thank you.